SwayamPrabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello students, so welcome to the course, NPTEL course Visual Communication Design for Digital Media. So in the previous module we discussed about some of the elements of design. So we'll continue from there and we'll discuss about the other elements of design in this presentation. So in the previous module we have discussed about three elements, line which is one dimensional, then shape which is two dimensional, and we also have discussed about on texture and pattern. So here we'll in this module we will discuss about space which is three dimensional, and we also will discuss about color. But space in digital media will be actually an illusion of space, because we are not dealing with a three dimensional art form like product design and automobile design. We can we actually have can create three dimensional spaces, but here in digital media UI UX design or animation or visual communication visual art, we can only have a illusion of space. So here by the usage of color, texture and other attributes, we can create an illusion. If we are talking about augmented reality, then we can have a real space, we can deal with a real space, but in terms of other digital media platform we can only have an illusion of space. So how to present the depth of space, the depth or the illusion of space in digital media? So we can do it by three different ways. One is by varying size. So if there is one object and the object size is varying in size is differing, then we can have an illusion of space. For example, if you see this composition, we have four columns. Here the column is smaller and the column is becoming appearing bigger, and also there is a change of color, and the color becomes dull there, and so we have an illusion of space, and this two dimensional art appears three dimensional, and there exists a depth, feelings of depth. So another way can be overlapping. Overlapping shapes on top of other can create a illusion of depth. So here the best example in my mind is material design by Google. Google's material design talks about illusion of depth, illusion of space by overlapping. So in the right hand side we can see there is a red plus which appears like a button is on top of the rectilinear shape, and here in this rectilinear shape has a drop shadow. So that actually appears like on the background this rectilinear shape is overlapped on the background. Here if we see the concept, this is the concept design of material design which is available in Google's site. So all these different tabs and buttons appear on top of each other. So that is how by overlapping different shapes material design creates an illusion of space. So here another way of creating a depth of sense of space is vertically allocating different objects. So here on the right hand side we have a Worli painting which is actually from Maharashtra, but this Worli painting is done in Raghurajpur, Odisha. So this Worli painting we can see different formations of human and animals on top of each other. So they are actually afar. The object appearing on top is actually object which is farther, and which is appearing bottom is actually nearer. On the right hand side also we can see a map of the same place where we can see elevations of small buildings appearing on top of other. So actually the buildings which appears on top of the other objects is farther. So that creates a sense of depth in a 2D composition. So another way of representing a sense of depth is perspective, which looks more realistic. So perspective in terms of digital media, we can use a real photograph which actually follows a perspective drawing. So here we can see website of Indian Institute of Technology Roorkee, and there is the photograph, actual real photograph of the main building. So that creates a sense of depth, that because that's a photograph of a actual place, and that follows perspective. And also on the right hand side we can see a hand appearing on the UI design, so that adds to the three-dimensional quality of a 2D space. So here, so the perspective can be of different qualities. One is one point perspective. The first example on the top is one point perspective, where every point vanishes on the single point. The next example is 2 point perspective, where two different points will be there and all the lines will be vanishing on the in this 2 point. There can also be multiple point perspective. For example, George Tucker's the subway. You can see the the painting in the net, and there can also be created a dilemma of perspective. So perspective will be altogether confusing. So again, the example of Escher's painting, if you see in this painting on the right hand side, the painting creates a lot of confusion of perspective, but yet it has a sense of depth. But the space is not perceivable, the space is confusing because the staircase appears as a plan, and plan, elevation and everything is twisted in this example. So apart from perspective, there are also two other ways of showing space, depth of space. One is isometric projection. The first example is isometric projection, another is axonometric projections, where all the lines doesn't vanish in a single point like perspective, they are actually parallel. All the planes appears parallel. In isometric projection there are 30-degree angles, and axonometric projection there are 45-degree angles here. And the next element of design is color. So color has three attributes. One is hue, the next is saturation, and another is value. The hue is hue, as it is described, is the visual sensation of different color spectrum. So each and every hue is associated with different light wavelength of light. So and different examples of hue will be purple, red, blue, cyan, green. They are different hues and they are associated with a particular wavelength of light. And saturation is or chroma can also be described as colorfulness or dullness of a particular hue. So here in this example we have taken blue as a hue, and the saturation on the left hand side is less. So at a certain point we cannot recognize the blue as a hue, it appears as gray. On the other hand, in the right hand side, the blue has the highest saturation. What is value? Value is referred as the lightness or darkness of a particular hue. So here, unlike saturation, the particular color, particular hue will be either we can add more black to a particular hue, and it will be called shades, and we can add white to a hue, and it will be called tints. So white, if we add white to a particular color, so value increases, and if we add black to a particular color, the value decreases. So here we have Newton's color wheel, all the hues are present here. So and we will discuss about the color scheme. So in this Newton color wheel, as we all know, if we combine all the colors, we get white. So in terms of light, that's an additive addition of light, so we get white light. So here in the so if we talk about the primary colors, we have red, yellow and blue. These are the primary colors. We cannot create red, blue and yellow by combining other colors. And what are the secondary colors? If we combine two primary adjacent primary color, we get the secondary color position in between them. So if we combine blue and yellow, we will get green, which is appearing in between. And if we combine yellow and red, we get orange, and similarly if we combine blue and red, we get violet. So these are the secondary colors. If we combine one primary color and another secondary color, And then we get a tertiary color. So for example, if we combine blue and green, we get blue green, bluish green, that is a tertiary color. And similarly, if we combine red and orange, which is a secondary color, red which is a primary color, we get a red orange, that's a tertiary color. So if we talk about, if we divide the color into two different sectors, warm and cool, depending on the sensation, what kind of sensation they evoke, we have warm color, which is on the right side of the color wheel, red, orange, yellow. These are the warm color, which evokes a sensation of warmth in the user's eye. And on the other hand, blue, green and blue violet evokes a sensation of coolness in the user's eye, and that is a visual perception they give. So these are called cool color. And another interesting feature is one single particular color, if surrounded by a warm color, here in this example, it appears cooler. And on the other hand, these two greens are actually the same green, and the same green is again combined, surrounded by a cool color which is blue, and the green appears more warm. So that is one feature. And so next we will talk about the color schemes. So one color scheme is complementary color scheme. Complementary color scheme, as the term denotes, the color which are actually situated on the opposite side of the color wheel, radially opposite, is called complementary color. If we combine two complementary color, we will get again white light. So again for example, yellow and violet are complementary color scheme, and they are the most contrasting color schemes. Again red and green, if we apply this complementary color red and green in one composition, we will get a very contrasting and striking color scheme, and which will be very impactful on user's mind. So another example, another color scheme is split complementary color scheme, which is not as striking as complementary color scheme, but associated with the complementary color scheme. So for example, the split complementary color scheme means the opposite side of the color wheel, the color will be taken, but just the adjacent color, not the opposite colors, just as adjacent. For example, yellow, if we consider yellow and the complementary color violet, in split complementary color scheme we will not take violet, but we will take blue violet or red violet. We will not go exactly on the opposite side of the color wheel, but the analogous at the adjacent of the color scheme. Another example is triadic color scheme. Triadic color scheme, if we see the color wheel again, triadic color scheme talks about the color which is three colors which is equidistant in the color wheel. So for example, triadic if we look at the color wheel, the triadic color scheme will be red, blue, yellow. Or if we take violet, there will be violet, green and orange, because these are equidistant, three color scheme, which three colors which are equidistant from each other. So if we take one primary color, always the triadic color scheme will be the other primary colors. If we take one secondary color, the triadic color scheme will be other secondary colors, and similarly if we take tertiary colors, the other triadic color scheme will be always tertiary color. For example, if we take a tertiary color blue green, then the color scheme will be blue green, yellow orange and red violet. So here we have an example of a Bauhaus poster designed by a famous visual designer, Herbert Bayer. Here we are seeing blue, yellow and red. These are the primary color, and these were actually the color of Bauhaus and the Stichel movement, which we also see in Mondrian's Broadway Boogie Boogie, which we have seen earlier in this module. So another color scheme is analogous color scheme. So analogous color scheme will have the colors which are adjacent to each other. So if we go back to Newton's color wheel, analogous color will be yellow, yellow green, green, or blue, blue violet, violet, which are adjacent to each other, which gives a very soft and soothing effect. Here we have an example of analogous color scheme. This is an screenshot of a animation. Here we can see blue, violet bluish violet and reddish violet is used, which three colors are analogous. Also, if you see Picasso's blue period painting, then he used all the analogous colors. So when he will be depicting red, he will not use the color red, he will use a blue shade of red, that's violet. When he will when he will depict yellow in his painting of blue period, he will not use yellow, he will add a blue tint in yellow, and that's why he will use green. So green will actually be depicted as yellow, and violet will be depicted as red. So if you can check in net Picasso's blue period painting, and you will understand more that in detail. So also we have monochromatic color scheme. In monochromatic color scheme, we have one single hue and the variation of variation in value. So we can have the tint and shades of that particular hue. We can add more white to get tints, and we can add more black to get shades of the same hue, and we can play with the saturation of the hue. We can add more gray and more impurities, and actually if we think about the color, then we can add if we add the complementary color, so that color has lesser saturation. So if we start adding green with red, then the red will have lesser saturation, it will appear, it will go towards the gray tone. And if we add more green to the red, and then it will go to the greener shade, and red will decrease in and the identity will be lost, and gradually will go to the greener side. So here we have the example of same painting in different monochromatic schemes. One has bluish tint, bluish blue hue, and then variation of tints and shades, and another have purple, green, and brownish hue. So this is it. So we discussed about different elements of design. Those are line, shape, form, shape and form, illusion of space, color, and texture and pattern. So if we play with this, and with the permutation and combination of these elements, we can create different kind of visual style, and which will be discussed later. And the next module is principles of design, and how with the different elements of this design elements, we can create different design. That we'll see in the next module. Thank you.